Good evening and welcome. It's February the 12th, 2 days before Valentine's Day. And I want to warmly welcome all of you to my podcast. Tonight you're joining me fighting CPS, Stop Taking Our Children. I'm your host, Bob Pace. We're very fortunate tonight to have a guest. Her name is Lauren, and it's Dusran, right?
Cochran.
Cochran. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lauren Cochran. I warmly welcome you. Lauren, we'll talk to you in a moment here. I want to go over with my viewers a couple things, okay?
Sounds
First
good.
of all, it's a warm welcome to all of you. Some of you are regulars. I have about 25 regulars that come to my show every day, twice a day now. You'll find me on Facebook, Fighting CPS, and I'm on at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and again, nighttime at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's on the west coast of California, and I have um, been on the show for over 16 months, over a year. And and I've talked to approximately 900 or more people. Not only do I talk to people in the United States, I talk to everybody in the world now. We have 21 countries that have found us and have expressed some help. So I'm here to help all people with CPS. I too was once in CPS, so I know from experience. Now, I represent my attorney, Vincent W. Davis. He put together this podcast, and I want to thank him for what he does. He is a juvenile family dependency lawyer. He's been fighting for 39 years, and he's been fighting CPS. He knows how to fight them. He's a trial attorney, and also he has sued CPS when the case is over and won millions of dollars in state lawsuits and civil and federal lawsuits. And so he's a guy that is a pit bull, and he has his own podcasts and so forth. And I'll talk more about him when I talk about some of my rules. Now, there's 4 ways you participate in this podcast. One is just by being in this room. There are emojis you can express. You can check the follow button and then check the notification button if you want to know when I'm on there. And then there are you can also text messages, and we can't have that on the show there, Lauren. Okay.
Oh,
Um,
sorry.
yeah, that's right. Because my advertisements, I have ads on the show, and I have to do. There's rules that we have to follow.
Gotcha.
Okay. So when you're texting a message, please um, put the message in a question or a comment, and Lauren and I will try to answer your question. She sees everything that I see. Also, put your first name, the city or the county where your case was, and the state. If you're from one of the 21 countries that have contacted me so far, please um, put your country, and if you have a province, put that in also. Try to be complete with your case. Now, the third thing is to be a guest, like Lauren is. To be a guest, you'd contact my show producer. Her name is Grace. She works behind the scenes, and she will help you get on the show. All you have to do is pick one of my shows, one of my 14 shows. And by the way, I'm on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, on at 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And so you pick a show, email Grace, and she'll give you a link, and then she'll tell you what you can do and not do on the show. And that is one way that you can, another way you can interact. The fourth way is my phone number's up. It's 626-698-0990. And Lauren, I could take a phone call to help you out with your case. My goal in this podcast is to help you, to share things that I should have done that I didn't do, and how I lost my children and how I got them back. There are many, many bad CPS entities out there. And a defined CPS is a child protection systems. There is systems, and every county has one. Every state, has the county. There's many counties in different states. Even in the world, there's CPS. But the CPS system in the United States was mandated by Congress to social services that say that we need to have our children protected from neglect and abuse. So they do that by phone calling in. Professionals will call me, and also the lay people will call me. Professionals are the ones that work with children professionally: doctors, lawyers, police, firemen, etc. Lay people are family, friends, and relatives. And the lay people are about 50% right. The professionals are about 75% right. And over the 900 people, all of them have something very much in common. They're going through hard times, either economic times, lost a home, don't because of the hurricane, like back east, lost a job, so they have less income and so forth. And I'll tell you about how they get an attorney there. We had some good news today. I'd like to congratulate Betty Jo. For many months was trying to get her niece adopted, and she was able to do so. And she shared the good news. She drove back yesterday with her niece from Nebraska. She used the ICPC, the Interstate Compact Placement for Children, and she now has guardianship of her brother's child. And so that was great news to hear about that. And we definitely have people that come back and share their stories and what they ever do like that and so forth. One thing to keep in mind, if you want to talk to my attorney, Vincent Davis, you can do so by either being a guest on my show, because I'll ask you, do you want to talk to him, or by calling in. Yeah, it's a 15-minute free consultation, private on Zoom, with Mr. Davis, one of the top attorneys in the country, one of the top CPS attorneys in the country. So I'd like to get a chance to hear about Lauren, where she's from, and what her case is all about. And start from the beginning. That would be great, Lauren. That'd be great. Go ahead, Lauren. You have the show.
All right. Well, my name is Lauren, and I'm from Ohio. We live in Ravenna right now, but at the time we were living in Chagrin Falls, so it was like Geauga County. And in June of 2020, we had an instance where my ex and I got into an altercation. And I guess when the police had got involved, one of them or somebody alerted CPS, and then they came into our life, and it has been awful ever since. So they came starting to see just my ex and our kids for a while. My kids were staying with him, and there was no contact order, so I wasn't there for quite a few months. And eventually I was able, to see them again and have visits and stuff with them. But at one point they decided that they were going to take the kids from my ex and place them into foster care. And the foster system it's just awful. They, the first foster home that they were in, they were with some people that were it was like a farm. I'm not sure if it was for profit or nonprofit, but they were placed on a farm. And my oldest son was saying that he was kind of forced to have to wake up crazy hours and do all this farm labor and stuff that he's never done before, which, he said he felt like a slave. And they were getting weird bug bites and all kinds of things. And so eventually that family, we did say something to our caseworker about it, and she just brushed us off. Eventually they were moved to another home, and during that placement, they were at a respite, what they call a respite, where they do something on like weekends with other kids or whatever that are in the system. And a dog bit my oldest son. And I guess he had seen that dog. He'd been around him more than once, and that dog has actually bit him twice. And when we complained about it, we inquired about it, we asked, what's going on with this dog? Is he still around the children? Like, this shouldn't be happening. And we were just brushed off. They didn't tell us what happened to the dog. I don't know if my son actually got to see a doctor, because of that. I wanted him to, but I don't know if they actually took him. They really brushed us off every time that we had anything to say. And then eventually they were moved to another placement out of county. They were in, I think this was Youngstown. And this was despite, or the judge had initially said in our case that he wanted them, both boys, to remain in Geauga County under schooling of Kenston. And they said that they didn't want to split them up or anything like that. Well, they did keep them together for all this time. They go to Youngstown. They're still together. And my youngest son, during one of our visits that we were having with them, they were supervised visits, supervised by JFS or CPS, of course. And our youngest son was trying to eat rocks. And when we asked him about it, our oldest son said that when they didn't like what was being served for dinner, they were sent to bed with nothing to eat. Wow. And the one JFS worker, Katie, she was there. She witnessed the whole thing, said she was going to look into it. She was very concerned. And she did say that we should stop asking about it, but that we should talk to our caseworker. So we talked to our caseworker, Heather. She's our main caseworker of the whole case. Her name was Heather. And she said that it wasn't happening. She claimed nothing was going on. We brought it to the court's attention, and she still lied and said, oh, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. And then finally it came out, okay, well, yeah, I knew about it, but I told the foster parents to stop doing that. And I was like, well, so wait, you just lied to the court? And they didn't reprimand her. They didn't do anything about it. Just moved the kids to another placement. So they went from Youngstown to Barberton. And while they're in Barberton, I get a call from one of the daycare workers that they were going, they were at this daycare, I guess. And she said that there were allegations that the foster mom was abusing the boys, like physically and mentally. And apparently the daycare witnessed the foster mom picking them up one day. She wasn't happy about how fast the boys were being, apparently. And she threw shoes at my youngest son and grabbed my oldest son by the neck very hard. And it must have left, I don't know if it left marks. I believe it did. And the daycare workers, they got the attention of CPS and all of that. There was a big investigation about it. They found the allegations of abuse to be true. But they also,
I'd like to play a little bit of catch up here. There's some important questions at the beginning of your story.
Right.
Yeah, I like to go back to the beginning. I know it's hard. So you are married to a guy, the father, and you are the biological parents of two boys.
Yes.
And what are their ages?
Nolan is 13 and Tyler is 9.
So at the time of the incident, how old were they?
At the time of the incident, they were about 6 and 9, 6 and 10.
Okay, so they're quite young still. Okay, they're not teenagers yet.
Right, and my youngest son has autism. He's diagnosed with autism.
Special needs. So you're the biological parents, and you and your husband weren't getting along. You had domestic violence.
Unfortunately,
why were the kids put with him and not you?
They said that it had something to do with the fact that the home that we were all living in, it belonged to his family, and they had a place to stay, and I had nowhere to go at the time.
So because you had domestic violence, so you and your husband didn't have the home in both your names? It was only in his name?
It's in his family's name.
Okay, so the family may have interfered a little bit. They may have been the ones that called CPS, or did your husband call CPS?
No, we actually found out through people that we've asked that it was a police officer and also somebody from the school that the boys were at Kenston had called and made a complaint to CPS.
Okay, were the children in danger?
No, never in danger.
So you did not fight with the children, and the children were around?
We were in a completely separate room of the house.
Okay, but they could hear you?
Unfortunately, I think so.
Yeah, that's one thing a lot of parents miss. And I want to share that with you is that when you have domestic violence, which can be physical or just arguing, that does do some harm because the children can't sleep.
Right.
And it really affects them because they hate to see the two people they love the most. And so, anyway, you were arguing there. And so they decided that what did they charge you with? Physical
Um,
abuse or
they
neglect?
they initially charged us both with neglect, and their reasoning was it actually had nothing to do with the domestic violence. Their reasoning was our youngest son's teeth were starting to decay. And they thought that we were neglecting that and not doing anything about it. Well, they didn't know the decaying in his teeth is actually related to his autism. He's lacking something in one of his genes. So it's actually something that's health related and medical related.
Okay.
It's happened in the family before. And their pediatrician, who's seen them their whole lives, completely knew about it. And he never once said it was neglect on us.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, um, how did the CPS? Do you invite them into your home? Do you invite the police into your home?
Well, when we had that fight, the police kind of just showed up and came in, you know. But
Because
when
a neighbor
I
may have
don't know what
called, right?
happened. That would actually be a question for my ex. He's with me here. He was there when CPS showed up the very first time at the home.
Where were you at the
So, I was actually staying with some family, friends, some
So
like my
they
godparents.
didn't come when you guys were arguing.
Right. My boys didn't go with me. No, CPS didn't come when we were arguing. They came a couple days later. Brian
Oh,
here.
okay. So they weren't brought in when the police were talking to both of you.
Correct. They weren't brought in until they didn't show up
Did-
until a few days later. This is Brian. This is my ex.
Yeah. Hi, Brian. How you doing? Did you
Doing all
get
right.
did you get a restraining order, Brian?
There was an automatic no contact order. I didn't request anything like that.
Okay, I'm just curious because these are all important factors that'll help you in your case. And so when the police came, um, then the social worker showed up. Why did you talk to the social workers or let them into your home?
They just showed up at the door and said they had some questions relating to what happened. And
Right. And most of us, including myself, don't know about the only way that CPS workers can come into your home. And I tell people this, and maybe it's of course too late. It was too late in my case, but you never open the door to anybody. Now, if there's domestic violence going on and the children are there and it's out of hand, the police will bust down the door. They will come in there. But there's only three ways to get in your home. Either you give them permission by answering the door. It could be either the husband, wife, or one of the children could open the door. They give permission, they're in there. And the second thing is if there's extreme danger to the kids, they will come in. And lastly, they have to have a warrant. Now, when the CPS showed up 2 days later, did they have a warrant?
no.
Okay. So you didn't have to open the door. You did not have to talk to them because they have to have a warrant. You see, the more you talk to them, the more they'll use that against you. And they'll do alienation between you parents. They'll alienate the kids from both of you. They'll make it look like the dad looks bad, the mom
They
looks
did.
bad. And that is how it gets really serious. Now, did ever thought come to you that you need to talk to an attorney right away?
By the time I had money together to put a retainer down on an attorney, I'd already spoken to them.
Yeah. Right. That's one thing I want all my listeners to know out there. One of the first things you need to think about is get an attorney. And of course, a lot of people can't afford the retainers because they can be 5, 10,
Oh,
25,
I had
$50,000.
3 court appointed attorneys throughout this whole case. They just kept coming and going.
Well, the court-appointed attorneys, by law, anytime you're in a legal matter, your civil rights, you're entitled to have a representation. The problem is CPS is hoping to use the court-appointed attorneys. Why? Because they're not trained in juvenile family law or dependency law. and they only train in criminal law and they work for CPS. And so they're case loaded. They have 30 more clients. They won't be able to talk to you. They don't know how to fight.
Oh
You
yeah,
really
they
have to
brush me
mercy.
off all the time. Every
No,
time I said
they're
I
messing
wanted
you both up
something
because
in our
both of
case.
you will accept that. So what I tell most people, don't accept court-appointed attorneys. If you have to use one, make sure they work for you, and you have to put fire under their seat of their pants. You got to tell them, if you don't work for me, I'm going to sue you for negligence, and I'm going to report you to the state bar. And then you can also request for another one and another one, which you went through 3 of them. The problem being, it's like open heart surgery. When you cut yourself up in your body cavity yourself, take your heart out and work on it. No, you're going to have a professional doctor. Same thing goes true with CPS. They're that bad. Fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. And I'm only relaying this information to you, and so our listeners can listen, because we all learn from mistakes. And I'm sorry, you two, you seem like you're very caring right now and together, and that is good to see. But what happens is that CPS has some CPS are rogue. They have alternative motive. They want money. It's $1 trillion business, not billion, not million, $1 trillion. And
Yes, that's
get a lot of
exactly
money.
right.
They
During
get,
our case,
yeah,
we had to go to court in the wintertime, and the court had a gas station right next to it. And there's no way you can drive to that court without going past that gas station. And there's
right.
homeless people living in their cars with signs begging for food, money to
Yes,
feed their kids in front of the
yes,
courthouse.
right. Well, another thing is,
And
the
they're not
child,
doing anything about those people. And I went and asked those people, why isn't CPS taking your kids? And they said they can't because they have no money to extort from them.
right. Okay, thank you, Brian, for doing that. I know how you feel strongly about your case. I'm just trying to get there. So when CPS showed up, they knocked at your door, then you probably let them search your house, right?
Yeah. They
Yeah.
walked around, checked on the kids to make sure the kids were all right.
But that is a no-no, because your house may not be in the condition it's safe to do so. Also, you don't have an attorney there present. You see, that is the number one problem. And like my case, I didn't have an attorney present. In fact, I thought I had to open my house. I thought I had to show them around. And they were digging for something because they tried to get me
Well, they
after.
poke at everything.
Yeah, they go in your underwear drawer. I don't know why they do that, but they're really ridiculous, what they do there. But I'm telling you is that if you can get an attorney, it makes a really big difference, because they will lie, they'll cheat, they'll bring you up, they'll lead you on. And foster care, I hate to say, is just as bad. 50% of CPS and foster care are bad. There are good ones, but there are bad ones. Now, we have a mom named Betty Jo who's a foster care mom. She went and picked up her brother's child in Nebraska and brought it home to Montana. And the child's safe in there, and she's a good foster care mom. Not all foster parents are bad, not all CPS workers, but it seems like there's about 900 of you that have bad CPS workers. Now, there's thousands and thousands of CPS systems throughout the United States.
Yeah.
And as I say, I've talked to 21 countries that have even called me. I had a call from South Africa, from one of the provinces there. I've had a call from England, and I've had several calls from Canada, and then one from Mexico. So it is a worldwide problem because it's got out of hand.
Oh
And it
yeah,
does.
and our caseworker numerous times lied under oath in court, and there
They
were
will.
times where she even admitted to us that she was going to lie in court. She warned us that she was going to, and she did. And then when our lawyers asked about it in court, I don't remember. You get I don't recall that.
Yeah.
Like, come
Well,
on, you
yeah.
know what she said.
Right. Well, my social worker lied, and I had Vincent Davis as my attorney, and he caught her, and she committed perjury, and she was so angry and so frustrated because she was embarrassed because she lied under oath. And what happened is she threatened us parents, "You're never going to see your daughter again." I had 6 children, 3 of them were taken, and I had gotten my attorney too late. I got him like a year after the thing had started. Mine has started for 5 years of false accusations. Every week I had a false accusation I had to deal with. After 5 years, they got frustrated, and then they thought they'd get the police involved. They use police as intimidation. They use police to try to do things that are illegal. Police don't know about how CPS works. They just think they're called out. They're called out for protection because a lot of people have hurt social workers. And a lot of social workers are not trained or educated or have no experience. I've been finding that out too. So at first, did they offer a settlement conference?
No, that was never brought up.
I've never even heard of that.
Well, I know, I'm trying to tell people.
The biggest problem we had was the whole thing was rigged from the start. The judge that was involved in our case, he's currently being reprimanded for corruption. And several of the things he did that he's on trial for corruption right now, he did in our case. He sent his magistrate out to serve somebody in another county, and they have no authority in another county. And the person called the police, and they had that person arrested, and they sent that person to my house while they had an active arrest warrant to give me a drug test.
Yeah, the judges work for CPS. The attorneys work for CPS. That's the problem.
And there's all kinds of conflict of interest in our case. And it's like my lawyer basically said we have to take it to the Ohio Supreme Court because that's where his mess is at right now.
Yeah, he's going before the Supreme Court tomorrow.
Yeah.
For other things.
Yeah, I understand. There's been a lot of corrupt judges. I don't know how much in Ohio that the county was getting from the state, but in my place in California, the Orange County CPS, the Child Protection System there, and they call it the Child Protection Service. There's different names in every place you go to. But they were getting $20,000 per child, total of 3 to $60,000 a month. That was free. That was coming in from the state, which very gracefully got from the federal government. Now, Trump is flushing out all this money problems. There are trillions of dollars right now that are being found that should never have been paid.
Yeah, the head of the CPS, the director of CPS here in Ohio, was actually fled to another state because there was millions of dollars just missing. And they got charged with something, so she fled to Pennsylvania. So now there's a new director in charge.
For $90. Well, let me tell you about the CPS in Richmond, Kentucky. There is $1 million unaccounted for right now. They caught one of the social workers embezzling $400,000 of it. They still need to find the $600,000. So It happens everywhere. You cannot trust CPS. You cannot believe what they say, and you have to do everything your attorney is saying. Now, if you use a court-appointed attorney or public defender, it's going to be really a hard struggle. And,
I haven't had luck. He's been able to pay for his own attorney, but I haven't.
Yeah,
that's my attorney basically came
it's been hard.
My attorney said we fought as hard as we could. We pointed out all the things that should have got us an appeal, but the corrupt judge that tried our case was the one on the appeals court.
Yeah, he was
denied our appeal.
The judge in our case was actually on the board of appeals for the court that we were appealing to.
Conflict of interest.
And they immediately denied the appeal. I'm like, are you kidding? Of course he's going to deny the appeal. Are you kidding?
Yeah, there's many conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
When my father passed away, the same judge.
Yeah, your attorney should have said that's a conflict of interest and should be dismissed.
We identified that. We did.
And what did your attorney? Anyway. Okay, so you said you're in a group home on a farm. Now, did you at any time have a meeting with a safety plan and a place for the children to stay? Did you have that kind of a meeting?
When the kids were first taken away, my autistic son had a lot of special needs. And they mandated that I write an instruction manual on how to care for his special needs.
They actually asked both of us to, and we both did.
What I found very screwed up was they court ordered me to write this instruction manual on how to handle all of his little quirks and needs, but they didn't mandate any of the foster families to follow that manual.
Yeah, that is and see they're getting additional money, in Orange County, California, besides the 20,000, they'll get another 20,000 for a special need. They'll end up getting $40,000 for a special need. And it doesn't take $40,000 to take care of a special need child a month. And so that's where the money is going, and that is so forth. Now, are you still using a court appointed attorney?
Currently, I have no one. He's been paying for his own attorney.
Yeah. So is that attorney, is he schooled in juvenile law, family law, dependency law?
He mostly handles like criminal and like estate stuff.
That's the bad part. And I'm not trying to say, see, most people make a mistake. When you want to find an attorney, you got to make sure that they are licensed and professional in juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. Those are the three areas that CPS uses and knows quite well. So you got to make sure they have that, and they've fought CPS. So that is so important. My attorney, Vincent Davis, has those. He's been doing it for 39 years, and he goes everywhere, anywhere that people have a case. Now, he does have a retainer plus per diem when he goes out of state. So it is a little pricey. I know what it is about there. But what you need to do is, okay, so you didn't have a safety. Did they ever show you a safety plan that you had to follow?
No.
See, they're supposed to make a safety plan that says you need to take these parenting classes or these programs, like a domestic violence program.
They did write out some type of plan that they wanted us to follow. So I guess that's what that would have been. They had separate ones for each of us. They wanted him to do certain things and they wanted me to do certain things and so forth.
Part of the safety plan, but they're also supposed to give you the opportunity for you guys to submit a list where the kids could stay at. So if they're sent to a group home on a farm, I guess they didn't care about your family or relatives where your kids could stay at.
No, we actually gave them.
There was actually some racism involved in this case.
Yeah, we gave them quite a few names. I gave them some names in my family, like my mother. Eventually, they decided my mom wasn't qualified because she lived in another state, which really upset me and her because they made her seem, they made her feel like she had a chance, and she had no chance.
Well, no, they'll build up people. They will. And, they say grandparents don't have a right. They have as much right as parents are to see their grandchildren.
They violated their grandparents' rights 1,000%.
Yeah.
So I, like I said, I gave them some names. And then on Brian's side, he had given them some names. And what happened with that?
I come from a very diverse family. My dad, he had children with other families. My dad was a blues musician, and, musicians kind of get around, and I had some African-American family, and I suggested that CPS reach out to them and see if the kids could live with them. And in court, they named off all the people they talked to that said they couldn't take the kids. And I said, what about my African-American family I asked you to talk to? Why didn't you talk to them? Can you give me any explanation other than they were black that you didn't talk to them? And they just said nothing. Cricket.
Nothing.
Yeah. Well, was another one of your rights that was violated because you're supposed to have that opportunity. Now, have you guys had a domestic violence class? Did you have a class like last 12 months?
We took like therapy, like a.
They made us go to. We had to go to counseling. Class? We had to go to counseling, anger management.
Yeah, and then they made us take.
Anger management is a program for domestic violence. So you did have some of that, because that is important that you complete that or take it. A lot of things you can do on your own, but you need to make yourself as capable parents, because they're going to try to do it.
They made us take a co-parenting class as well. So we kind of went through that too. And we worked with like a parenting coach and all of that.
And they just tried to keep sticking these weird tasks on us. They said I mismanaged my finances, and they made me take a finance class. And the person that was, running the finance class, I had to present all my finances for like the past 6 months to them so they could evaluate how I'm spending my money. And I
They're
told
going
them,
to
like,
tell CPS. They're going to tell CPS your finances are your personal business. I always hate when social services. I want to see your bank account, your checking account, your savings account, and all that. That's none of their business. And that's
yeah, they
another
tried to say that I was mismanaging my finances, and the person that was, you running the coaching class on, financial stuff, they said that they should be taking my advice.
Right, right. I want to say one moment for a brief break here. I want to say hello to Margaret King. She's in here tonight. She's one of my regulars. She's from St. Louis, Missouri, and she's fighting a case, and she's hired Mr. Davis. She has an appeal going on, and she said that in the appeal process, it wouldn't be a bad idea not only for an attorney to have dependency law experience, but also criminal. Okay, she meant criminal is good too, but to have a dependency there. Margaret says the same qualifications Mr. Davis has. Well, Mr. Davis has a tremendous amount of qualifications. He is a juvenile law and family law and dependency law attorney. And so he's also a trial attorney. He can do trials. And then Margaret says dependency law and criminal law experience. Yes, yes, that is true. Vincent started out with that. He also was once a foster child himself, Vincent was. And he's been doing it for 39 years. So, Margaret, some good news. Betty Jo from Montana got her child that she was trying to get guardianship, her brother's child from Nebraska, picked him up yesterday, went to court, got it all finalized, drove back to Montana late last night, and today she's been celebrating with her new child, Margaret. So that is really good news there. You both people seem like wonderful people. Where are you at right now in your case? Where are the children? Still on the farm?
No. So like I said, they were moved to about 6 or 7 foster placements. So after they were in Youngstown, they were in Barberton, where the lady was abusing them. Then they were moved off to, I believe, Canton area. And then right now, one of them is in. So this is the other thing that really bugs me. So the judge ordered for both of the children, because my youngest has special needs. He ordered for them to be together, placed together wherever they go. He wanted them to be together. Well, they were placed into a place in Canton area, and my youngest son apparently was thriving. However, my oldest son decided, and for whatever reason, CPS gave him the option and opportunity that he wanted to be in a placement on his own. So now they are both separated. I know where my youngest son is. I do not know where my oldest son is. And they have basically tried to close our case. We've gone through appeals. We've been denied. And according to them,
take it to the Supreme Court.
According to them, the adoptions are closed, and the only way we can move forward is if we go to Supreme Court. From what I've been.
Someone's adopted both your boys?
So one family adopted one of my boys, the youngest, with the autism, and I don't know where my other son is.
Have you had what's called a termination of your parental rights, your TPR?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
Last year, I want to say.
I want to say sometime either last year or the end of
right away. Appeal for your TPR. Do you file appeal right away?
Yes, I did.
And
I didn't know that I could.
And what happened to your appeal?
It was denied.
And what were the grounds it was denied on?
Insufficient. Basically, they said that I had insufficient grounds for an appeal, even though we called out numerous things. They withheld evidence in the case. They lied in court. They failed to provide evidence. They said something happened, and I said, with my son on the school bus, I've said he got in trouble on the bus, and I got to get called down to the principal's office and look at it from 6 different angles. And you're telling me what you're accusing me of didn't get captured on the videotape of the school bus video, or it didn't happen.
Yeah, they tried to say that he at the time was sending them to school or sending our oldest son to school in girls' clothes, which was not the case.
Absolutely ludicrous.
Apparently, what happened, Nolan told us he went to school, he had an accident, and the school let him pick from a lost and found to pick some clothes. And they let him put pink pants on. And then the judge asked Brian if our son was gay. And then she asked Brian if Brian was gay. And I was like, you're a magistrate. That should have nothing to do with anything. Why are you asking about my son's sexuality? Like,
yeah, what?
I don't understand.
What does the school cross-dressing my son have anything to do with me? That's the school doing something wrong.
See what they're doing. And now your case is, you say it's been over a year since they had two boys. They have made already millions of dollars off your two boys. That Ohio CPS system.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but in my line of work, I do technical support for a company that makes electronic medical records software.
Okay.
And we get reports from companies that deal with the federal government, and sometimes we see their reports, particularly the mental health industry. And years ago, I saw a federal government assessment of the child care, foster care system, and they basically deemed it human trafficking.
I feel like my kids have been.
And I feel like that's exactly what's happened to our children.
Yeah,
right.
CPS, and you're not the first person from Ohio. I've probably had 5 people from Ohio, and they have something in common. They traffic children, and they do it legally, which they shouldn't have. Because your child, go ahead, Brian.
Here's the really screwed up part. The place that they're at, the place where my youngest son got adopted to, when they first moved into that house, the first visit I had with my children, my youngest son came up to me screaming and crying, saying, I don't want them to cut me up and sell my parts. And I asked him, what do you mean by that? What does he mean by that? And JFS, Job and Family Services, visit supervisor just kept telling me, I will end the visit if you keep asking them about this.
They're trying to do threatening remarks, and that is wrong.
Brian kept asking, and eventually our youngest son said that the person who told him that was he named our guardian ad litem from Casa for Kids. That's the lady who told him that.
And that is the worst. Let me tell you about the on-bus person, the cardium by layman, or the CASA person. Those 3 individuals are ears for CPS.
Oh, yeah, they all work together.
And you should never work them. They give one for the children. You see, they have so many people. They give a court-appointed attorney to Brian. They give a court-appointed to you. They give a court-appointed to each of the 2 boys. That's 4 court-appointed attorneys. Then they want to give a CASA or LITEM or an on-bus person to all 4 of you. That's 8 people that are just nothing more than ears for CPS. And they're going to work everything against you because their goal is to get that money. And there's a incentive that was passed by Bill Clinton in 1994 that says extra money is provided to CPS systems that get their children adopted in foster care than family reunification. See, it's been proven that the best parents are the biological parents, and they should make every effort to reunify you parents. That's
they tried to claim that we had no bonds with our children, and
the entire time the case was going on, the foster parents were reporting that my autistic son would scream all night, I want my daddy, I want my mommy.
Yeah,
and they started
would try to come home.
They started giving him melatonin to make it stop.
Yeah. To put him to sleep. And then our oldest son actually came up to Brian during one of the visits. And what did he say? Tell him what he told you.
He said, Daddy, why are they asking me to make up lies about you and mommy?
Yeah, they do.
And I asked right in front of the visit supervisor, what is he talking about?
And who said that?
And she immediately said, if you keep asking these questions, we will end the visit now.
And he was too scared to tell us who was telling him things.
And we brought up that the kids were being coached in court.
And
the magistrate said that we could get the the kid to an independent counselor.
What's funny is she immediately demanded that this be, taken care of, that we get to the bottom of this, that they go to an independent counselor, all of it. And our caseworker, Heather, every time he found a counselor that he felt was neutral that the boys could go to, she would block it. She would say, oh, no, they can't go here for this reason or that reason or whatever.
She would cancel the appointment. I would make the appointment. She would cancel it. I'd make another one. She'd cancel it.
And they never got to see anyone. And by the end of the case, that was never even touched on.
I complained that it was obstruction of justice, but
they never followed
the corrupt court didn't care.
They don't want to hear parents because once you have an attorney involved, they only will talk to your attorney. Parents have no say-so in court, unless you do it pro se, where you defend yourself. And sometimes I wonder if that's better than a court-appointed attorney. Now, I have some people that said some further comments here. Margaret's one of those, and she was sitting there saying that, we have the person NYP who's from California. I forgot her name. Good evening, NYP. And then Margaret says, if they make me without my consent take any courses, I sign my name with the word under arrest next to it. Means you should put it underneath duress is what you should put, Margaret. And Margaret says, congratulations to Betty Jo. That was good. Then we have a new person here called Sugar's Mama. Always sign anything to put in front of you, sign with under duress, and only then do you place your signature on the attachment. So anything you're asked to sign, you sign under duress. I agree with you, Sugar Mama. And where is you, Sugar Mama? Where are you from? And then Sugar Mama further says, this is human trafficking. We all agree it is. Then we have another person called Yellow Rosa Gora. Welcome. She lives in Ohio. It's crazy. The judge cancels my hearing because a social worker said they can't verify I completed the services. It's very important you keep a copy of your certificate, put it in your notebook. Put it in the notebook. Keep all your documents. NYP, I'm thinking of defending myself. Be awful careful. You need a good attorney. It's like open heart surgery. If you make a mistake on your heart, you end up killing yourself. And Benny, I don't know where Benny's from. Please find nonprofits that have avocation who are also social workers and familiar with dependency cases. You got to be careful, Benny, because you don't know the kind of social workers out there. I don't know if you have a case yourself and where you're from. Margaret says, my 5-year-old was subject to injections to medicate and sedate for help the foster parents with a traumatic child. And then Benny says, from Los Angeles. Well, welcome, Benny, from Los Angeles. Tell me about your case, Benny. And then Sugar Mom says, my name is Crystal. Glad to meet you, Crystal. And I'm currently live in California, but had to do with CPS in Oregon many years ago. So she has a CPS case there. All of you are welcome to this room. We're trying to help out. Lauren and Brian, who have lost their 2 sons. They had their terminal rights terminated over a year ago, and now they're being adopted by foster parents, which means that Ohio CPS is going to get a bonus of $10,000 just for having that one child, your older son, adopted, and then they're going to get $20,000 as an incentive because your younger child has special needs. So they're going to get $30,000, and they're going to spread around and give out bonuses and incentives to the social workers. And
now that you actually mentioned that, while the boys were in foster care and during this time, they actually got my oldest son diagnosed with ADHD. So I don't know if that counts as another special needs.
Well, no, they just do a blanket statement. If a child needs special needs, ADH or all those other ones are out there, it's a flat fee. It's double the amount that they normally get.
So basically, they made it so my oldest son was also special needs, so they would get extra money, is what it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, they love the $1 trillion business world, and it's going to be stopped. Eventually, they're going to get caught. We have a senator in Georgia, Nancy Schaefer, who's in her 70s, that was murdered when she was fighting CPS. So CPS is bad. It is really, really bad. And you're one of the 900 people plus I've talked to that have something in common. You know, you didn't know at the time when CPS was investigating what they would do. I can guarantee now, after hearing what I had to say, you would have done things a lot differently in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And you would never have answered the door and stuff. The argument thing, that is bad. That is really bad. But that is not a cause to remove children. You know, if they're in danger physically, yes, it is. But emotionally, that upsets the children when you have arguments. So I always say, with arguments, take a time out, go for a walk, and come back later and talk about it. Make sure you talk about it when you come back later. So if you go for a walk, each of you go in opposite directions. I live at the beach, so it's easy for me to walk in the beach and go left, and my wife can go right, and then we come back and meet and talk about it. And, you know, a walk on the beach, you know, sometimes a good way to break it down. But anyway, Benny says the non-profits are out there and they get results. Please have advocate from day one. Don't let time pass before asking for help. It's important to have a team. I agree, Benny. If there's nonprofit entities that want to help, but they're hard to find, the main thing you need to get is that tool, that attorney. And I really want to emphasize that when you're looking for an attorney, you get the right kind of attorney. And there are pro bono attorneys, and there are attorneys that are professionally trained that you pay that will defend you, And that is the only way you're going to succeed in this matter. Now, you guys may have a civil suit against them. That's the only thing I think remains with you. Now, I have a question. Since you guys have talked on the show, you've both qualified for a 15-minute private consultation with my attorney, Vincent Davis. Would you like that?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
All you have to do, it's real easy, is to text me at that number, 626-698-6990. I need both of your names, and I need a phone number, your number you can be reached at, and a email. And then what I'll do is that I'll contact my show producer, who will put you in touch with Mr. Davis and arrange for a 15-minute private consultation on Zoom. And you want to make yourself a list of questions and prioritize them, and he will talk to you. He'll give you advices how to navigate and what to do, how to find an attorney, and maybe there's something you can work out with him because he can give you the direction which way to go and so forth. But if your terminate rights have already have place, you really don't have anything left but do a civil lawsuit because and wait till your child's turn 18 and maybe they'll come back to you. Maybe they'll look to you. My daughter is 22 now and she's not come back. She was taken at 12. And in the state of California, a 12-year-old can divorce their parents, change their name, seal their birth certificate, get a new social security card, and be adopted by foster care. And our social worker lied on the stand, and she did that. She told our daughter and coached her daughter to do that. So it's a horrible, horrible thing. And I, really want to. We're running. We're running towards the end of my show. I'll have to end it at 8:00 in a couple of minutes here, but I want everybody to remember this one picture of a social worker. There were 8 social workers in Prescott, Arizona, decided to take upon themselves to get pink T-shirts, and they stenciled on the front, "Professional Child Kidnappers." And on the back, they said, "Parents, do you know where your child's at?" In Prescott, Arizona, which is the Department of Children's Services, or DCS, they paraded around at all the big stores, Walmart, Kmart, Costco, Sam's, Target, Best Buys, any store was big. And they did that they were eventually caught, and then they were immediately expelled from their jobs along with the director. That hurt the agency because it only left them with one person. They handle all the calls and do all the investigation. So it was a double whammy. yes, they caught the bad people, but they also hurt children from being protected, because there are parents that do abuse our children and neglect our children. So I want everybody to think about that, is that you got to be really careful out there with who you pick and so forth. And a lot of research will go into hand there. So I think you go ahead and text me the info. It'll take about a week or so before the conference call will be set up. But
Okay.
it will be set up, and you have my number there. That's my office number. I can only talk on the phone before my podcast or after my podcast. I can only talk during the show time, not before or after. But if you send me a text message, I'll forward it on to Grace, our show producer. And I think, Lauren, you met Grace. She's our show producer that does everything there. I
Yes,
want
you
to
do.
thank all my listeners out there. Benny, who's new from LA, thank you for sharing your information. Margaret, I'm so glad to see you again. And it's really important. She comes back every night. I have some regular people there. Sugar Mama, it was nice to meet you. And your new NYP. I remember you, but I forgot where you're from, NYP. And let me see. Anybody else we leave off before I close my show? I want to thank um, Lauren and Brian for taking the time to share, because what you do right now, just like I do, when you share it with other people listening, and there could be hundreds of people listening and these shows are recorded, they will maybe hang on to their children and learn that you got to be careful with CPS. You have to be careful with CPS. Do not talk to them. Do not let them in your home. Do not open your door in your home. You don't have to. You don't have to. And I'm sorry to say, a lot of people have been killed opening the door. I know firsthand some people that have been shot 5 times, and one died on FaceTime talking to his fiance. And that was a hard thing to swallow. So hopefully all of you will hear that. So I'll be on again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I'm on twice a day. So you'll never lose touch with me. You can be on again, and you can and come in the room and text me. I'm here twice a day. So I'm here for you to give you support, any help I can, because I do care.
We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes. Well, thank you. All right, you all. I'm going to be ending my show with a very strong word, that keep fighting for your kids. Don't give up. God bless you. And this is Bob Page.